All right. Well, here we are in Morris, Minnesota. It is my second episode since we got here. Man, do I look like a hot mess, but it's okay. I'm glad to be here with you. I've actually had a pretty good day today. You know, uh, it didn't start off that great, actually. Um, Started off with recognizing that I had accidentally put on a stained blouse. And then I get to the bathroom and I change my blouse from outside of my dress to inside of my dress so it hides the stains. And I end up ripping my dress in around the waistband. Fortunately, it's something that's relatively easy to fix. And I have the capability to fix it. But yeah, that was a little discouraging. And then Zoom call wasn't working properly. The laptop that they've got me, there are permissions that are lacking to get me video and audio, so I have to reach out to the IT guy to have him fix it, but he's not in local. He's kind of like they have an IT group they work with, and the guy's not super responsive. So he didn't even respond to me when I asked for help. But, that's okay. I managed to do the Zoom call via phone. So that worked out okay. Then later, Ubi and I went to lunch together. And we get out of lunch. The waitress took a really long time to get us our ticket. I don't think she spoke English very well. So she's obviously not a native speaker. And yeah. So I had to actually go ask for the ticket, and then I asked for the ticket. She comes over with the ticket. She realizes I'm going to pay with a card, and she walks away. Okay, all right. So comes back, well, about 10 minutes later with an actual device to punch in the card information and everything. So got that finally taken care of. It was literally an hour. And then go downstairs to get into the car. He's got the station vehicle that he's using for lunch. Hey, Will, good to see you. Hopefully the internet stays relatively stable. It's crap, but we'll deal with it. And I can't use the hotel's internet because my wireless dongle accidentally got left behind when we moved. So I'm going to have to get a replacement for that, and until that, I'm just going to have to deal with wonky internet. Oh, there's that. Anyway, so we get into the vehicle, the station vehicle, to go back to the station, or actually for him to drop me off at home. And it won't start. Like, okay, all right. Turns it off, turns it on again, tries that. Runs through several things with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT helps him figure out what the problem is, and then finally we're able to get started. Get the vehicle up and going, and he drops me off at home, and I decide to, you know what, let me stop, let me make sure that I get my prayers in order before I do anything else. So pray my rosary, my Divine Mercy chaplet, and then I sit down. And I'm looking at the landing page that I created for this lady because I've been going through the ClickFunnels 1 comma challenge, which is, can you make 1,000 in a week? And if you can, you get an award. And if you can't, well, you at least learn some valuable skills. So I've been doing that challenge. I've been following the instructions every day. I've been having to run behind because they have their webinars at the same time that I'm at work. So I haven't really been able to participate in them fully. I've had to play catch up, basically. But it's been working. And I got my first test client, and I was preparing. I had her site prepared and everything, and then I realized, oh, the colors are off. So I wanted to make sure I got in there and fixed the colors really quick before we had our meeting at 4:45. Got in there, got the meeting done. She was really pleased with everything I did and asked me how much it would be, and I told her, and I've got a soft yes for her. So I may get my first 1 comma by Monday. Who knows? Then I've got a couple of other people who know me who have reached out to ask for funnels to be done for them. Um, One I know in particular what she needs, so it's cool, and I like her business. I know what she does. She's technically family. She's my granddaughter's grandmother on the mother's side rather. And then I've got another person who reached out to ask me if I was still doing them. So yeah, sign up. And I've learned new skills, bunch of new skills. Putting this, you know what? I just realized I don't even have my headphones on. That's crazy.
Why do you need your phone?
I don't really need them. It just helps me to hear things when the computer's playing. But I guess technically don't need them. I technically don't need my glasses just to talk to you either. And the glare they're creating is a nuisance. But yeah, so I mean, it was a little bit of a discouraging day in terms of how it started, but I think it's all right. And then we went downstairs and had a couple of tall glasses of loon juice. That stuff is very good cider, my favorite. Well, they are and they aren't. I mean, we still don't have the housing situation mapped out. We only have a couple more days in this hotel, so we don't know exactly what we're going to be doing. But I do know that God provides, and I do know that He will when the time comes. And that's all I know. And evidently the time hasn't come yet. I'm actually probably going to go downstairs in the morning and offer Lizette a funnel build like I did for this lady and see what comes of that. And yeah, still prayers are necessary. Yeah, the more prayers we get, the better. I should take my hair down. Kind of looking wonky anyway. So, yeah. But yeah, the job is going well. I'm working in partnership with the Stevens County Economic Improvement Commission and the Chamber to put on an entrepreneurship expo in the fall where I spend 5 days teaching people what they need to get their business off the ground and running. And then that 6th day is the actual expo where everybody gets a table who participated and they get a chance to pitch their business to the public. And so that's cool. I'm excited about that. You know, I reached out to the Economic Rural Development Council today, statewide, and actually at the U.S. level, to see what support they could provide us. I would go through the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration, and the SCORE programs, or the Small Business Development Association, but they don't have them here in Morris. So we're kind of on our own in terms of that. The Stevens County Economic Improvement Commission is about as close as they come. And they do some coaching and counseling and stuff. In fact, so funny. Cheryl Coon's the lady who's the executive director in charge of that. And when I first met with her and talked with her about it, she's like, well, I know there are some curriculums out there that we could use. I'm like, I already have one. It's okay. I wrote a book on it. And she's like, oh, well, okay. Well, that changes things for sure. She said, I wish you'd have led with that. I'm like, well, I'm not trying to brag and not trying to put myself out there like this is all about me. But I do have the curriculum for it, so it's not a problem for me to teach people and walk people through what they need to do, because basically it's my experience packaged and bundled. I went from literally publishing the Poverty Diaries in 2014, where I just bundled a collection of my diary excerpts and put them out there, not because I really wanted to do that, but because it was the only thing I could think of value that I had to offer to raise money for us to get to our son's boot camp graduation. And it was 1,200 miles away from where we were living, and we didn't even have the money to pay rent, let alone pay for a ticket out there for 2 of us and a place to stay. And It was hard times. It was desperate times. And so all I could think of to offer was maybe my experiences in poverty, that maybe somebody would find those valuable enough. And we did end up raising enough money to get us out there and to get a place to stay during the graduation because of the contributions of our friends and stuff. But not enough money to get home and not enough money to pay the rent, so I didn't even know if we'd have a home to come to when we came back. That was rough. That was so, so rough. And then while we were down there, because of how anxiety prone things were and how uncertain our situation was, Randy had kind of a bit of a break. And that was the point at which I realized, you know what? I'd been trying for decades to fix him, and it was a problem that was bigger than me. It was a problem that I wasn't capable of solving. And that, in a sense, there was a form of mental illness in thinking that I was capable of fixing that. Like, talk about your delusions of grandeur. I guess, I wasn't the only one. My mom and dad met in the psych ward, and she knew what he had. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. She just thought she could fix it. And I realized, I was doing basically the same thing with Randy, that I thought I had the power to fix it on my own, which is nothing short of amazing, And I guess it forced me to confront the fact that I'd spent a lot of time and effort and energy trying to fix a problem that was never mine to fix in the first place. Hey, Malachi! Good to see you! And that kind of shifted my perspective a little bit. When we did get back home, finally, we got help getting the rent straightened out and sorted out, and we're beyond blessed that we were known in the community. We had been contributing in the community, and our landlords were willing to forgive so much of our shenanigans. And, yeah, well, when you've been down for a long time and things just constantly seem to be punching you in the face, it's really hard to keep your mental health up. It's really hard to keep believing that something better is going to come along when every bit of evidence says it's not. When every bit of evidence says the light at the end of the tunnel isn't hope, it's an oncoming train. That's hard. And so I've been there, and Randy's been there. And we spent a lot of time in that venue. And in fact, this is actually, I want to say, one of the first times where things started to shake underneath our feet. But instead of falling completely to pieces, it sort of started falling together into place. And I feel good about where we are. And I feel like we're where we're meant to be. And this housing bit is the last bit of the hurdle to cross to a new life that's better, all the way around. But I'm a firm believer that God did not bring us this far to abandon us in the middle of it. Yeah, you live in a rural part of a small town with no employment nearby and no vehicle either, and you support your whole family on your $1,200 Social Security. It's nuts. Yeah, well, reach out to me, because I'll give you a copy of my book, Turning Problems into Profits. It was so funny, because like I said, I literally wrote the Poverty Diaries, and 3 years later, God wakes me up out of this dream where he showed me that every problem I'd faced in the past was an opportunity to profit in the present. And every problem I faced in the future but didn't know how to solve, was an opportunity to profit moving forward. And I was never going to run out of problems. But that also meant I would never run out of opportunities for profit. And that there would always be reasons for me to hope, and always be things for me to build toward, and reasons to dream. And, I woke up that morning going, I have problems! I have problems. And it totally made all the difference in the world in terms of my mindset. Because those problems that I were constantly pummeling me when I was 23, I nearly took my life over them. I got to this point where Randy walks in the door and he looks at me and he says, I got fired. And then he walks over to the bedroom and he closes the door, and I'm there by myself with my son playing in the living room, and who wasn't quite 4. He was close, but he wasn't quite there. And looking at the bottle of pills, wondering just how many of those I have to take to end the pain and the confusion and the frustration and just the heartache of the whole thing, because I was just done. I just wanted to be done. And you know, the first thought was I should just take those pills, and then thought was, well, what's going to happen to my son? And I ran down the list of people that I knew, and I couldn't think of anybody that I would trust him with. Including at the time, Randy, he wasn't in a good headspace. He'd already told me that if something ever happened to me, he'd take himself out of the equation. So what was Ed gonna have? And I didn't want to trust him to foster care. I knew how rough that could be. And so my next thought was I should just take him with me. And that's where Satan overplayed his hand, because my next thought was no, that's not. I couldn't believe that I thought about taking my own son's life. And so the next thought was, well, no, I don't know how long it's gonna take. I don't know what it's gonna take. But I will not quit fighting until my son's life is better than mine. And 20 years later, that's when I wake up with that problems and the profits thing, where I figured out that everything that's happened to me had happened really kind of for me, in order to transform me into the person that I had to be to get to that place in life, where I not only understood the value of people who might not understand their own value, but I was able to help them put together strategic plans to fix their financial problems, just by tapping into problems they'd already experienced and could leverage in their favor. And that was huge. That was massive. That mind shift, that realization that I had a power to help people. Yeah, that cognitive train of thought, it was what keeps you in check. Yeah, well, I mean, you have to. You really have to. If you want to survive and you want to make something of your life, you have to count every blessing every day. And I was not good at doing that when I was younger. In fact, I would have what I would call a one-ring mentality. I was always looking for that one thing that was going to fix everything and make everything all better. Not me. It's never me that needed to be fixed. It was always that next thing that I needed to fix, that person or that problem, or and a lot of times, God bless him, it was Ubi that I would blame for the problem. And if he would just fix this, if he would just do that, it's so easy to point fingers and not take responsibility for where you are in life. And it was certainly much easier for me to blame him than it was to do something about our situation. And, it wasn't until last year, really, that it clicked into focus what our problem had been the whole time. And it was an encounter with my mother, where I listened to her constantly bellyache and moan, about what couldn't be fixed, and this was a problem, and that was a problem, and then you'd fix this, and she'd move on to the next thing. And it was never enough. It was never good enough. And it was so frustrating. And then I realized, it smacked me in the face, that I'd been doing that to my husband my whole relationship. Like, nothing he did was ever good enough, because I always viewed him as kind of like being an obstacle to what I was trying to do, because he wasn't always where I wanted him to be. But then I realized, what? If he'd have been exactly who I wanted him to be, I would never have slowed down long enough to actually live my life. He was not an obstacle. He was a conduit for me actually living instead of just moving from goal to goal to goal, dream to dream to dream, without ever slowing down to appreciate what I'd done or where I'd been. And it, so I'm grateful to my mom that she has that mentality, because in her and in dealing with her, it helped me see where my problems were. And it helped me to understand what I was doing wrong and how I was making other people feel. Because, one of Randy Ubi's greatest gifts is that gift of being present with people, of making them feel like they matter no matter where they are in life. Not that he's got demands on them or wants them to be something different than what they are, but just that he's grateful for them being there and being who they are. And that's such a difference in this world. Everybody else has expectations and demands, and you gotta meet this bar or that bar, and not Ubi. He just wants you to be you. And great, he doesn't want you to be a jerk to everybody else, but he's just there to enjoy you as you are, where you are, without expectation of you being something else. And, that's huge in this day and age. I wish I could be more like him, and often I'm not. I'm often the person who's so busy thinking of what I'm trying to accomplish that I forget about the people that are involved in it. But I think that's why Ubi and I make a good partnership, is that he does help slow me down. He does help remind me that the people matter the more than the thing I'm trying to accomplish. And that if I'm accomplishing a thing, but I'm dragging the people under the bus as I'm riding over them, then maybe there's something wrong with that picture. You're running into a lighting issue in your old eyes? Nice. So, but yeah. That's kind of where I'm at now. I mean, like I said, our last and great hurdle right now is just finding ourselves a place to live and getting in there. But I trust that God's got a plan, that his plan is better than mine, and that even if it feels like we've got Egypt at our back and the Red Sea in front of us, there's going to be a staff moment, and God's going to light the way forward and show us the way that we didn't even know was possible. That's what he's good at. He makes a way where no way seems possible. I'm going to take a quick pause. I will be right back. And hold that thought.
We need to get you in a way scene.
Yes, that would be ideal.
Also, apparently, your microphone is picking up my guitar.
Yes. That happens. What microphones tend to do. Ta-da! Well, no. I actually had something amazing to drink at the bar. They have this stuff called loon juice. It is amazing. It's a cider that they have. And I had a large one of those before stream. So, no, I don't need anything to drink. But, yeah, I had an emergency. So, took care of that. But, yeah, you can't see your lyrics and you can't even remember the words to your own song. So, I hear that. I've got songs that I've written a long time ago, and sometimes struggle to remember the tune, struggle to remember the words. Yeah, And there we go. So yeah, we're settling in all right. Like I said, got that one last big hurdle to cross, and then we should be No, 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 no. I wasn't drinking on the job. I drank after the job and before the stream. So there you go. Making sure that I'm clearing my hurdles. So yeah, the housing is just that one last thing and then we're in. And it should be good after that. And Ubi has decided to kindly provide me with background music because I can't have background music otherwise. So it's cool.
Yes. Thankful for the job.
Yes. And we are thankful for the job. We're thankful actually for everything that's happened. Um, Even though it didn't seem good at the time, you know? It was like we
Well,
got.
you're talking loud enough they can't hear it.
Huh?
Only when it's quiet.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Any rate, Captain Morgan and Dr. Pepper go well with work. I would I wouldn't know. I try not to drink anywhere near my job. For one thing, I work for the city, and I don't think that would set a very good example. Man, I got the little tie that's showing in. That's great. I'm looking so put together. Yeah, totally. You can tell I'm a fashionista. Yeah. Actually, the funny thing is about that, I like designing fashion. I care nothing about wearing it. So, when I get a little bit more financially stable and settled, I do plan to kind of dip into creating my own fashions and styles just because I like being different. I like standing out in a crowd. I didn't when I was younger. I loathed the fact that everywhere I went, I stood out in a crowd, whether I wanted to or not. But these days, I understand the value of that. So, after all, if you don't stand out in a crowd, how will the people who need you find you? Ubi can attest to that. I don't ever usually have trouble finding him in a crowd. He has lots of trouble finding me. I blend in quite well to crowds. He does not. I usually slip right through the crowds. Um, Except that, we've gotten a little wider over the years, so some of that slippage is not so easy anymore. Not without knocking into somebody. But yeah, so I had a good situation with helping the lady with her funnel building. Took her website, and it was an okay website. She had done an okay job with it, and one of the things that going through the ClickFunnels one common challenge helped me realize is that when it comes to doing good marketing and advertising, maybe the biggest mistake you make as a creative is that you're trying to be creative with it. And you just need to do what works. Hey, Miss Linda! How are you? Hey, Linda. Red is a good color for me, and it always has been. Red and actually yellow. A lot of people can't wear yellow, but I can. Tends to look very cheerful on me. Okay, so I'm going to pop in and out of appearance, apparently. It's going to decide to be bouncy.
Setting the router up instead of laying it down like I have.
It's bouncy, trouncy, flouncy, flouncy, fun, 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 fun. Because it's the internet. And it is finally done. Hoo-hoo-hoo! I don't know. We're American Airlines. Something special in the air. Yeah. Short yellow bus and everything. Come on, internet. Be a good boy. You can do it. I know you can. It's okay. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Wow, so many great things you can experience on the internet with me. Buffering! Woo! That should make you feel special, huh? I swear, ever since I moved here, most of my streams are me fighting some kind of internet problem. Lord, blessed Saint Carlos Acutis, could you just please bless the internet Please ask all these internet troubles to go away. You can take my request up to the Lord Jesus and
You're
have
kind of
him
back.
bless my internet.
We're about a minute and a half behind where you're talking right now.
Yeah,
But
so
it is sending.
Lord Jesus Christ, send your Holy Spirit to help the internet connection stabilize and maybe even improve to the point where people actually enjoy watching my stream instead of like finding it as painful as I don't know, a root canal. Yeah. One concurrent viewer. Nice. Nice. And this is definitely a way for me.
So don't worry about that line. The YouTube not receiving enough, because even in a good day, it's not sending the right amount.
But yeah, so, this is the way for me to grow my stream and become super popular. It's the hidden secret they don't tell you about. Internet problems. The road to popularity is paved with internet problems. It's okay. You don't wear pink much, but blues, aqua, and teal are your favorites? Oh, I love blues and aquas and teals. Yeah. Blue is actually my favorite color, and I tend to prefer the teal side of things. So, yeah, that blue-green mix, that's my jam right there. If I had a preference. So, how is everybody else tonight? I've rambled on and on and on about how my day was, but I didn't step and check in with how everybody else was, which is very rude of me. How unkind. What an inappropriate thing for a hostess to do. I should be concerned about how you are, darlings. How is everybody's evening? How is everybody's life? You know what? It just occurred to me that I should offer to pray for you guys. Anything you got that you need prayers over in chat, just pop them in. Let me know. I'm always happy to offer up prayers for you guys. I do pray for you, actually. Every day during my rosary, you guys are included. You are prayed for by name most of the time. Now, I will say there are moments when I'm just so bleeping tired and worn out from the day that I kind of speed pray, and then I don't include much of anybody. But for the most part, you guys are included daily in my prayers by name. As I figure that, I don't know what you're battling. I don't know what you're going through. But God does. And if I lift you up in prayer, He will be there to help you in what you need. And, free will is an important component of how God works. He won't act on your behalf without your permission, but unless somebody asks for you. So, even if you guys don't believe that it'll be effective, just know that I am praying for you, and I know that God will take care of you that way. And if you have anything specific that you would like for me to pray for you for tonight, by all means, pop it in the chat. I'm happy to do what I can. I cannot solve all your problems for you. Heck, I can't even solve my own. But I can at least lend my prayer support for you. And that's something I'm more than happy to do. I also will say that if you got a business you're working on, if you'd like to build a business and you would like me to help you work on a funnel, a sales funnel or a appointment funnel or some other kind of funnel, just let me know. I'm happy to help you there too. Can't guarantee you results. Can't guarantee you that it will be effective, but I can build it for you. And I'll do it based on research. That was one of the things that I've learned over this 1 Comma Club challenge this week. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Do what works. Do what's already proven to work. It helps a lot. It reduces the stress, it reduces the time to production, and it improves the results you're going to get. I think that's part of my problem with being a creative writer, is that I want things to always be creative and me and unique, and when you're doing marketing, you don't need creative and new and unique. What you need is what works. And you can work within that framework to make it more creative and, to add some polish and touches that are unique to you. But really, you just need what works. That's how you make the money. Just do what works. And it's been stressed to me over and over again. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel all the time. And, that's probably good advice for a lot of people. I think we tend to make life a little harder than we have to. But, that's real talk. Real internet problems. It's also real talk. But we are hoping soon to have the housing situation settled on a more permanent basis. Maybe to have it all figured, locked in, and till then, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe Saturday's internet is good. Maybe it's not. We'll see. Maybe it's just a sign that I should postpone my streams until we get somewhere more permanent. I don't know.
We'll get your internet's fixed.
I don't know. So we'll think about that. Yeah. We did find a way to fix Ubi's, which I'm really happy about because, the community that he's built, the community that he's cultivated, it's an important thing. You don't often see that much positivity on the internet, and he has a way of really bringing people to life when they get to his stream. And of course, it's the only place on the internet you can get your balls out on stream and people won't complain and won't think you're rude. There's always somebody else worse off than you. Don't judge people. You haven't walked in their shoes. Pray. Exactly. It's true, Linda. It's true. It's really easy to sit there and to judge people and to think, well, that's something I would never do. And quite often you don't know how hard they have worked just to get where they are. And, you may be sitting on Mount Kilimanjaro, and you're judging the people who are struggling up the mountain, but you don't know how far away they started. Maybe they were in California and they had to trek all the way across the United States to New York and then fly all the way across the world to get there. And you're judging them because of how long they took. But you don't know how hard they had to fight just to be where they are. So it's very easy to judge, but without knowing the whole story or the whole full picture, you're not really in a position to judge. You can judge a behavior, sure. You can say, this is not a healthy behavior. This is not going to lead to good things for anybody. And it's fair to judge behavior, and I think we should judge behavior. I think we should be unafraid to call it. This is unhealthy, this is not going to help anyone, and this is not going to lead to better things. But to judge the heart of the people who do those behaviors, no, that's not something I'm qualified for. Thank you, Linda. We can definitely use the purse. We are two walking hot messes. And that's just the reality of the matter. As I was telling somebody today, relationship skills are the most important skills that you will ever learn in life. And neither of us came to the adult table having those really solid, good relationship skills. Randy's relationship skills were better than mine. And he still didn't have great ones. When it came to interpersonal relationship skills, and so we had to spend most of our adult life figuring out those relationship skills. And that's the thing, is like, religion always gets a bad rap, but religion is really rules about relationships that have been proven, time tested and proven across multiple generations. Now, which religion to follow, well, that's a different matter. That's, the question is, how close does it get you to love? How much love does it help you produce? Does it help you live fully a loving life, a loving and caring life? And there's only one religion out there where we have somebody who lived his entire life for the sake of love to the point of being willing to die on a cross for people who hated him. That's the example I want to follow. And, you got to see, because of his story, you get to see the benefits of doing it. You get to see that love ultimately conquers death and evil in the end. It may take past your lifetime for that to happen, but it does eventually happen. And so it gives you that hope to hold on and to continue loving when love is hard. And it guides you in how to choose love every single time when love is the hardest thing in the world to choose, because you're trying to love people who aren't always good at loving. But without religion, we leave kids basically having to reinvent the relationship wheel every generation. That's not fair to them. That's not right. And it's not productive for society either. Because every success in society comes from being able to form those healthy, natural relationships. So it's crazy, We've set kids up to fail and they don't even realize it. We tell them we're freeing them, from the confines of religion, and now they can make their own choices. Well, great. But there are so many pitfalls out there, and you're not giving them tools to figure out where the pitfalls are or how to avoid those pitfalls. You're just leaving them to walk right into them. And then you're blaming them when they get banged up, scraped up, hurt, and hurt other people at the same time because you left them to their own devices. It's like blaming a toddler who's been left alone because they grabbed the scissors and cut everything to pieces. Well, they didn't know better. You weren't there to guide them, so can't blame them for that. My thing was, when I was a toddler, my favorite thing to cut apparently was my own hair. That's probably why it's still short. Too much cutting. Yeah. I think that's part of what the problem with society is we've left generations of people to try and figure out that relationship wheel all on their own. And they're not doing a great job of it. Not doing a great job of it at all. But that doesn't mean it can't be fixed. That doesn't mean it can't be repaired. It doesn't mean everything is hopeless. It just means we've got a lot of work to do to show people why this particular wheel is the better version than what they've got. So, that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. I'm sure everybody else has their own opinion. But this is real talk with me. And so I'm going to talk real about everything that I think and feel and believe. And no holds barred. This is, you either like me or you don't like me. I can't control that outcome. I'm not going to try and be somebody I'm not for everybody else's benefit. I just find that thought exhausting. There are people who are like, how are you comfortable walking around without makeup? And I told somebody else, I was like, look, if they don't like my face without makeup, they wouldn't like it any better with makeup. They're not the kind of person I want to attract. And if they did like me with makeup, that's not my real face. At some point in time, I'm going to have to take that makeup off. They're going to get to see the real thing, and then they're not going to like it. Because I sold them a version of me that doesn't exist. I can't blame them for that. So it's better to just sell them what I... And in a sense, it's not wrong, because by saying yes to all these things that I really didn't want, I was in essence deceiving them about who I was and what mattered to me, and setting them up for failure. And it took me a while to realize that, but it's really when you don't say no to what you don't want, that's what you're doing. You're setting other people up for relationship failure.
Has it kicked you off yet?
Yep, seems to.
I mean, did it actually pop up the window
No,
saying you're not?
no, it hasn't.
Does it still say that you're? Does it still have stop streaming?
Yep. Man, oh man. Tonight is just going to be one of those nights.
Take it to chat while you wait for it to recover.
I guess so.
It's starting to come back.
There we go. Seems we have a poor internet connection, which is appropriate, you know? Oh well. No, like I said, I was probably going to call it early anyway. Because I'm tired. I didn't get enough sleep last night. But it's good to hang out with y'all. I'm hoping that my next stream, which is Saturday, you know, writing and chatting, I'm hoping the internet will behave better then for that. It just may be that until we get into a stable, steady place, I'm gonna have to put up with this and make my decisions based on that. But you know what? These are third world, or these are first world problems. You know, I should be so blessed, consider myself so blessed that this is the problem that I have right now. You know, I could be starving, I could be homeless, I could be in a prison somewhere, you know, I could be sick, I could be dying, you know. What I've got going on is small peanuts compared to all of that. So I'm just going to stop and practice something that God taught me to practice when I was younger, which is saying thank you for all the things that I don't want in life. I'm going to thank Him for the rough internet connection and for the lack of a solid plan as to our housing and for financial instability, because all of those things are pushing us in a good direction, and I know that He's got great plans for us, and I know that He's going to do great things for us, and that it's not in spite of these things, but because of them that we will see that happen. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and depart for the evening, give you people a break from internet hijinks, give myself a chance to get into bed early, and thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you guys for showing up, because you do mean the world to me, and I appreciate every moment that you have invested of your time in this stream and in me. It means a lot to know that you're here with me. You may not be able to solve my problems for me, you may not be able to do much with them, but your presence makes it better. So thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.